Beauty is dangerous, but intelligence is lethal. This analogy describes future millionaire Dayna Thomas, the founder of the law office of Dayna Thomas. All right, so we're going to welcome Dayna to the Young Millionaire's Mind.
Oh, thank you.
So Dayna, tell us a little background information about you.
All right. Well, my name is Dayna Thomas, and I'm an attorney. I practice entrepreneurship and entertainment law. I went to Emory University School of Law, graduated in 2015, and I'm from New York. Came here to go to Georgia State University. I majored in marketing. Really loved marketing. After I graduated from Georgia State, I worked in nonprofit for a year. But I always knew that going to law school was my passion. It was what I was going to do. So everyone at United Way knew that. They supported me, took the LSAT, got into Emory Law, and enjoyed my experience. And here I am now, entertainment and entrepreneurship lawyer. I'm living my dream, and I'm really happy.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. So upon graduating from Emory Law, what sparked your interest in starting your own firm compared to going to work for another one?
Ooh, I love that question because I really feel like I'm following my purpose and my passion in life. When I first got to law school, I will say that my first year, I wasn't so focused on starting my own firm. I was looking for internships in big firms because if you intern at big firms, usually if they like you, you get an offer a couple years down the line when you graduate. So I was doing that formula at first. But then I realized that just wasn't for me. Like, I feel like I had so much more to offer the world, and sitting at a desk doing what somebody else wanted me to do was not going to get me there.
Right.
And so when I realized that, I realized that pretty early. I would say the summer after my first year of law school, pretty early. So I started to actually plan to start my own firm since then. So it was a matter of spreadsheets. It was a matter of learning what it entails. I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts. I fell asleep to so many podcasts, listened to them in the car most times also. Webinars. I was constantly feeding myself information about how to do this because I'd already decided that that's what I'm going to do. So for any entrepreneur, no matter what industry you're going to, you have to decide that that's what you're going to do. And after my first year, I decided, and everything that I did from then, every person I met, every event I went to, every book I read, everything was so that when I graduated, I'd be ready. And thank God, because of all that preparation, I was ready, and here I am.
And like E.T. says, knowledge is the new money. Get you some. And clearly you got a lot of it.
Yeah, it's just like, in school is great. Law school got me where I am, but there's so much education that I had to do on my own outside of school to get me where I am. Like, honestly, going to law school and just going to class alone is not going to prepare you to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
You have to do so much work outside of that. And the fact that I knew that's what I wanted to do early on, I was able to prepare myself for that. And, it stuck, and I'm just really happy that I went with that decision.
So what made you pick entrepreneurship and entertainment law as your specialization?
Okay, so actually when I came into law school, I was so set on only entertainment. And that's because when I was younger, I was the actual entertainer. So I was a dancer. I did tap, jazz, ballet, even some cowboy dancing from my dance school, traveled to dance, sang in the church choir, sang in school plays. I was just always in front of the camera, in front of an audience. I was performing a lot. But when I got older, I didn't really want to do that anymore. I didn't want to be the performer. I started to be more interested in business. I got exposed to law, but I didn't want to abandon entertainment.
Right.
So when I learned about entertainment law, put it together, and it just was a great mix for me. So actually my first year, I was so set on entertainment, I wasn't focusing on anything else. But then, like I said, once I started to get more interested in entrepreneurship, like, I realized that that was my passion also. So not only did I want to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to help as many entrepreneurs as I could. So I just added entrepreneurship law. And usually it's not called entrepreneurship law. I like to think that I kind of coined that term. It's usually business law, but I feel like I do more than just help businesses. I really am in the business of helping people. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's more than just what you're doing to make money. It's like your mentality, is how you feel. And anyone that you work with has to feed that as well. So that's where entrepreneurship law came from.
So what exactly do you do for the entertainers or the entrepreneurs?
Okay, so for entertainers, it could be a musical artist, a photographer, a model. So there are certain rights that come with the craft that you do. When you make music, when you write a script, when you write a book, when you take a picture, there are certain rights that come with that work. And a lot of people don't understand how valuable those rights are. It's vested in the Constitution. So when people are giving away their work for free, or they're entering into some deals that they don't have a lawyer look over, you're giving away this value that could really, be your mainstream of income if you were doing it properly, if you had good negotiator on your side. So as an entertainment lawyer, I make sure that my clients understand the rights that come with their craft, with their work, and that they get paid, adequate value for it so that they can live, the lives that they want. And then on the entrepreneurship side, I assist two types of entrepreneurs. There are the ones that are just starting out, that really don't know what to do, but I help them with building that solid legal foundation so that when they do take off, they have everything together, like your business entity, your operating agreement, copyrights, trademarks, you own your logo, different things like that. And then there are also established entrepreneurs, and hopefully they have that legal foundation if they've been in business for a while, but they're looking to collaborate with other people, other businesses, so that they can grow. And then they need someone on their side who can explain some of their rights and some of the implications of those contracts so that they can get the best deal.
Okay. So, being an African-American female lawyer, how hard was it for you to get started? How hard was it for you to gain your first set of clientele, and how did you mentally prepare yourself for it?
Honestly, I don't think it was very hard to build it. The hardest part is starting. Because like I was saying before, for about 2.5 years, I had already had this body of preparation in spreadsheets and mentors and knowledge and books and everything. I had everything. It was all laid out. I had all my accounting. So that part for me wasn't too hard because I prepared that over 2.5 years while I was still in law school. But the hardest part was just leaving my job and doing it, and I worked for a firm my whole third year of law school, and I started working with them for about 5 months after I graduated. But that thing that pulls at your heart when you're really not doing what you feel like your life is meant to do. Right. Every day I was feeling that, and I feel like God was telling me, listen, you have everything ready. What are you waiting for? So the hardest part was actually just starting. That was the hardest part. But if you make the decision to do it and you feel like you've done the homework, then, that preparation shouldn't be too hard. It's just overcoming what is actually fear that it'll work. So that was the hardest part.
All right, so like you just said, it was the most difficult task was actually starting up the business. So what's the biggest common mistake that people looking to start a business make?
I would say how you allocate your funds. So there's two parts to that. There's investing in yourself, and there's keeping your overhead low. So those are kind of opposite, because investing in yourself means that you have to spend money. Keeping your overhead low means that you have to keep your money. But you really have to be particular about where you're putting your funds. Like when you're starting a business, it looks nice and fancy to, get nice software or have a nice office and all these other things, but that is just fluff. It's not going to make you more money. Right. Like you need to do things and spend your money in ways that are going to make you more money later on. So keep your overhead low. You don't need, for most businesses, and it really depends, but for most businesses, you don't need a fancy office. You don't need fancy software to keep track of certain things. Like you can start out with your Excel spreadsheet and then just build on top of that as you make more money. But on the other side, it's important to invest in yourself. So that money that you would have spent on those other fancy things or things that you think that you need to be a business owner, invest that in yourself. Like for example, lawyers, accountants, these are people that are going to make sure that you have this solid foundation so that when, other opportunities come, you're prepared for it, because a lot of times we're spending too much time on things that are not making us money. But, you have to invest in yourself with certain professionals and different things so that, you can spend the time on things that make you money instead of things that you have to figure out, that the lawyer figures out for you, that the accountant figures out for you. So just allocating your funds properly, I would say, is the most common mistake.
All right, so how do businesses properly protect their business name?
Oh, one of my favorite topics, which is trademarks. So the most common way to protect your business name is through a trademark. And a trademark is basically the government's way of making sure that no one else can use, or let me rephrase that. It's the government's way of making sure that the community, potential clients, don't mistake your brand for someone else's brand. So trademarks aren't really there to protect the business owner. It's there to protect the potential clients and customers, because when clients and customers are looking for me, the government wants to make sure that they find me and that they're not mistaken by someone else who's just investing off of my brand, who's benefiting off of my brand. So, but what people need to know about trademarks is that you can't protect every name, you can't protect every logo. There are certain things that are required in order to get a trademark. So those are things that you can speak with, you know, to your lawyer and different things like that. But a trademark is a way that you protect your logo and the name of your business.
Okay. So explain the different types of business entities and which one protects you from the least amount of personal liability.
Sure. So I'll talk about the most common ones, and I'll even throw in there sole proprietorship. So even though sole proprietorships are not a business entity, a lot of people think that they are. So a sole proprietorship is basically there's no registration with the Secretary of State. There's no official business entity. But you know, if I didn't have my LLC and I just called myself or what I do the law office of Dayna Thomas, but I wasn't registered with the state, that's a sole proprietorship. You're just working under yourself, but you might call it something else. So there's also LLCs, which are very common, and I prefer LLCs for most small businesses because there aren't that many corporate requirements. So when I say corporate requirements, I'm talking in terms of what's required for like corporations. So if you have a corporation, you know, you have to have meeting minutes, you have to have a board of directors, you have to have certain meetings, you know, every month. It just has to be very formal and very structured. And with LLCs, you don't have to have that. Pretty much with LLCs, you just have to make sure that you register annually with the Secretary of State. And outside of that, you know, for the most part, there's some other things that you have to do to maintain your limited liability, but you don't have to have those formal things. So when you're just starting a business, it's important that you don't give yourself, you know, all that extra, you know, that corporations usually do. So LLCs are, you know, most beneficial, I would say, or useful for small businesses. There's also partnerships. I don't really recommend partnerships ever because one partner has to be generally liable. And that just means that that one partner, you know, for the debts of the company, you can come after that person's house, that person's car, all the money in their bank account. They're personally liable, at least one person. And that kind of defeats the purpose in my eyes for having a business entity if you're going to be liable for the debts of the company. So.
All right. So how important is it for first-time business owners to consult with an attorney?
It's very important. And it's very important because, for one, I've seen so many times where business owners, they're so excited about what they're doing, they just want to start, but they don't stop to make sure they have their legal foundation set up. And it really can hinder you because I've seen situations where the business is, you know, doing well, or they have a great idea, I would say. They have a great idea, and they need an investor, for example. And the investor loves the idea. The investor wants to throw $100,000 at them. I've seen it before. But then they lose the money because they ask for the operating agreement, or they ask for, you know, your records from the Secretary of State to make sure that everything is lined up. And it's kind of like you didn't think to do those things before, or you didn't think it was important because maybe you were making money, or, you know, you got some good buzz about what you were doing, you know, but now you're losing money in the long term because you didn't make sure that your legal foundation was solid. So I would say, you know, when you have a lawyer, that lawyer will look at, or should look at, the big picture to make sure that, you know, the goals that you want to achieve for your business, for your life, legally you're set up. You have your contracts in place. If you're working with a partner, you have the operating agreement that'll say like how decisions are made, who gets what, when they get this amount of money, that your documents with the Secretary of State are up to date, your trademarks, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people have logos and they don't even own it. And that's not even things that people normally think about. You think that just because you pay someone to do your logo, I give you the money, you give me the logo, I own it. Right. No, if I pay you for my logo and all I do is give you money, you give me the logo, you own my logo. You know, so years down the line when I'm making money, you are entitled to say, listen, I own the copyright in that logo, give it back to me or give me $1 million. Right. You know, and if you don't have a lawyer to teach you those things or teach you how to avoid that, it can really be detrimental to your business.
Okay. And for the struggling entrepreneur, what's the best advice you can give them?
For a struggling entrepreneur, okay, so my journey in entrepreneurship as a lawyer is very spiritually based. And the best advice that I can give is that just know that any obstacles or challenges that you're facing, it is temporary. Like it's going to happen. You just have to know that you are truly, truly in control of your life. Anything that you want to do, God has given you the resources, the tools, everything that you need. So even though sometimes it gets hard, it will get hard. There will be challenges. And just don't take that as a sign that it's not going to work. It doesn't matter what everybody else says. It doesn't matter if they don't understand your vision. It doesn't matter if they want to help you, not help you. you have everything that you need to make it happen. So whenever you come through those challenges or those tough times, just know that it's temporary and you are truly in control. So that's helped me a lot of times, and that's really the advice that I give to my clients as well, and it works for us.
So how can a future entrepreneur or someone who needs representation get in contact?
Sure. So everything on social media is Dayna Thomas Law, which is Dayna Thomas Thomas Law. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm usually posting a lot of free information, videos, inspiration, because that's what I feel like I'm about. And my website is DaynaThomasLaw.com. So that's how you can reach out to me.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for checking in. Young Millionaire's Mind. Follow us on Instagram, Young Millionaire's Mind. Follow my personal page at Blame It on Shot.